Welcome to the Live Your Possible podcast, the show about sparking and discovering endless possibilities where we work, live, and play. A safe place where we can help you peel back the cover to what may be blocking you from being your most authentic and happiest self.
Today's guest is a happiness expert and guru. Lionel Ketchian is a mentor to many, including me, in how to bring out more joy in the world. He has been ahead of the curve with the positivity movement and has assisted millions of people to reconnect with the happiness that lives inside of all of us. In addition to founding the first happiness club in Fairfield, Connecticut, for which there are now over 1,000 around the world for you to join and share happiness, Lionel is also an activator of how to spark love and happiness for all of us. If you know anyone that could also benefit from this spark, share this episode and join us on the journey with wondrous joy. Enjoy the show. Hey, Lionel, it's great to see you. Welcome to the Live Your Possible podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's great to be with you again, Darrin. Wonderful. You look great, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, you look happy. Looking forward to spend some time with you today as well. Hey, I'd like to go back to when you made a decision that happiness was really important to you. Like, what happened and how did you get there?
Yeah, it was 1990. It was Christmas Eve, December 24th. I was getting off the Merritt Parkway, and I thought about the fact that I feel happy, and really for no reason. I mean, I wasn't drinking. It wasn't because it was Christmas Eve. It was just this feeling that I recognized. And I thought, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. And I don't want to let go of this. This is it. And the reason I found it was that whole year I was trying to understand what was the most important thing in my life. And I would list 10 things and they could move around the list, get off the list, get on the list, move up on the list. And it took me a year, and I shocked and surprised myself that happiness was it. That was it. That was the list. Everything else was secondary. It's important. No question. Your family, spirituality, money, it's all important. But happiness was the most important thing. In fact, happiness is a currency, just like money, and we don't really realize that. Tal Ben-Shahar talks about happiness as a currency, which I knew it was right at that time. I knew this is valuable. I saw the value in it, and I never let go of it. And just to add another quick thought, I got off the highway, and I was on Black Rock Turnpike, and I needed to get gas. Because I was actually going to church later that evening. And the attendant was so nice, very friendly, very kind, very, washing the windows in the car. Can I get you in? Can I do anything else for you? Can I check your oil? And I thought, no, thank you. I'm good. And I'm thinking, boy, this guy's a great guy. What a positive guy this is. And I thought, normally I'm not even going to bother tipping someone. It's just, I guess, part of the service. But it was too exceptional. It was just too exceptional. So I thought, I'm going to give him more than $1, and I'm thinking a higher amount. And I end up driving away after we're done. And I thought, no, I'm going back. So I went back, I parked the car, I went in, I gave him a $20 tip and told him what I thought of him and how wonderful he is, and that he's making a positive difference in the world. And I appreciated him, because I think it was very important. It wasn't what he was doing, it was who he was and what kind of energy he was spreading. He really thanked me, and it wasn't just for the money. It was the appreciation. I came back, I acknowledged him, I really valued him as a human being and what he's doing in the world. But as I left that little gas station, walked out that door, I thought, I've experienced happiness. I now have shared happiness with someone else in the world. And when I think back all those years ago, that's 24 years ago, if it wasn't for 34 years ago, it's hard to believe because it seems like just a minute ago. If it wasn't for sharing happiness, I may not be happy now or found the value in it, because the crazy, wonderful thing about happiness is it's so good to be happy, but it's also unbelievable to share happiness with another. That was the secret, really.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. and giving that gift back to him too, because hopefully he shared that with somebody else, and it was kind of like a ripple effect where, like you said, as we're sharing it, it kind of keeps coming back or it keeps moving forward.
Yes, exactly.
And it
Yeah.
looks like you've been collecting a lot of happy stuff. I see in your background in your hat. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, and I think that the most important thing I've learned about happiness is it is a decision. Once you make the decision, you can always make the choice. And if you're not aware that you have that choice, it's much harder to make it. You know, your awareness level is not going to be there. In fact, I could ask you, do you believe in the adage, hey, we always have a choice? Do you believe that? Well, I believed it, but I kind of give that a second thought, because here's the way I would put it. Yes, you always have a choice, but you only have the choice you're aware of. And if you're not happy, or you haven't made the decision to be happy, your mind is not going to choose happiness because you're not aware of it. Once you're aware of it, that's enough. Now, once you're aware of being happy and you do become happy, you can make the choice to be unhappy for a while if you'd like. But now you're doing it consciously, not unconsciously.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, it is a choice. I mean, folks, I think some people will push back, Lionel. Like, how do you help them through that to let them understand that it really is, and it starts within ourselves?
Darrin, my answer just came to me when I was asked to do a church service this past Sunday, and they wanted me to talk about happiness. And as I was sitting there collecting my thoughts, I realized I think I have a real answer now to the question of how can I be happy? You know how many people have asked me that question? I mean, we've had so many meetings. You've come to the Happiness Club and presented meetings. You've been to a hospice with me. Um, this is, you do the real work too in this world for this. But my answer is I've always been trying to answer that question, of course, with, okay, here's a thought. Be grateful. Here's a thought, whatever the thought is. But it's work with many. It doesn't work with everyone. And I'll tell you an answer that's going to work with everyone. And the answer is a question of whether you do it or not. Is you'll get your answer. And the answer is in being. In being. When I became happy, I realized to be happy, I don't, wanting to be happy is in the future, and it's feeling as though I don't have it. I realized I had to put on the clothes of being happy. Now, if I gave you a suit and I said, this is happiness, and you said, oh, great, I now have happiness, and then you hang it in the closet, you don't have happiness. You just hung your happiness in the closet. But if you put it on, now you're wearing it. Now it's part of you. Unless you step into being happy, you're never going to be happy. I don't care how much you want to be happy. I don't care how much you think. You see, wanting is the culprit. We want, we want, we want. We don't need anything. We need to realize that the experience of being happy is within us, and we can have it anytime we want. But we must put it on. We must step into it. It's not a matter of acting as if. It's a matter of acting from happiness. I mean, there is nothing else to say. It's maybe very, very simplistic, but the real answer is, unless you're being happy, you're not happy. So here's the way I'd put it. Somebody comes into my office and it's nighttime and it's dark in here. I teach them how to turn a light on. Oh, wow, I didn't know that if you push that switch, the light, well, I never knew that. Oh, well, now you know. So now they can control the light. But if they're sitting in a dark room and I say to them, what are you doing in this room? They go, well, I don't know, I can't see. It's nighttime. I can't see anything. Well, didn't I teach you how to turn the switch on? And oh yeah, yeah. And then they go and do it. Now, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just saying that you see, we've confused something as human beings. We confuse three things that are possible for us: doing having and being. We don't know anything about being. Yes, right now I'm doing some talking. I'm having a good time with you, Darrin, because you're a good friend of mine, and I love what you do in this world and the work and energy you put in it. The book you've written, I mean, you're a worker bee in the happiness circuit. But there's one more element to having and doing, and that's being. None of it matters until you're being authentically who you want to experience in your life, and that's who you are. You're perfect within you. Um, we also confuse the outer world. We get up in the morning, we say, "Oh, I hope it's a nice day. I hope something brings me happiness." Anything that brings you happiness will also has the ability to take it away from you when you lose it, or when you love someone, they die, that's it. You get married, you're happy, and then you get a divorce, you're unhappy. So really the answer is not about what it is about experience. It's all about happiness is all about experience, but it's not about experiencing it out there. It's about experiencing it from within. And that can only happen when you're being happy. When you're being happy, you've now created the experience in yourself, and you've now created what I call the realization of happiness. Nothing can take that away once you realize it.
I love that thought that we can control it, we could choose it. And when you
Yeah.
talk about the light switch, I love to think about like that light that's inside us. It holds our happiness and our joy and our love, and then we
Yeah.
could turn it up and dial it up.
Now you're reminding me of something, as you said, you could turn it up and down, and the light switch. And I just realized, okay, so let me give you another tool with happiness. We do control it exactly the way you just said. We all know it's cold outside. The temperature right now it's 30. Let's see, it's 36 degrees outside, and there's snow and ice out here in Woodbridge. That's temperature. Inside it, let's say it's 70 degrees in my house. So there's some kind of temperature control. We can't control the weather. It's hot, it's cold, it's winter, it's summer. But here's what we're talking about with happiness. We're talking about not controlling the temperature, but controlling ourselves. And we can do that because happiness is a thermostat that allows us to raise and lower our own internal thermostat. In other words, it doesn't matter what's out there. I'm in a home, so we know enough to come in from the outside. We don't know enough to come in from the experience we're having outside and inside to readjust how we are experiencing that. I'll give you an example. I had a tough year last year. I didn't think it was a tough year, but a lot of people tell me, Lionel, that was a pretty tough year you had. My family, they had a hard year. Beginning of the year, I was being treated for cancer at Yale. I had to go to treatments for 2 months, every day for 2 months, for radiation treatments at Yale. And I completed that. And then I just didn't feel right after April. Went to the doctors, they couldn't find anything. And then they had done some tests in October, finally. And they said, oh, you got to go right to the emergency. You need a quadruple bypass. And I had that done in like October 5th or so at Bridgeport Hospital. And I was in a hospital for 10 days. So they opened up my chest and redid all my plumbing. And here's the deal. The deal is I had, this may sound astonishing and unbelievable, but I had decided when I was in the hospital to undergo this surgery that I wasn't going to have any fear. I was going to not the thermostat. I was going to I took complete control of my thinking. I let it go. I let everything go. I surrendered. And I let my mind just enjoy the peace. I didn't even turn the TV on. And visiting hours were over at 8 o'clock. I had the time of my life. I was never more at peace than this time in my life. And I did it by realizing it doesn't matter what's going on out there. It's always going to be something. I don't care if it's serious or not serious. Every little thing could drive us insane. Now, I experienced inner peace because I let go of all the stuff that are. And the reason I love the idea of being in a state of happiness is because it's our thinking mind that's preventing us from experiencing the very thing we think we want to experience. It's a paradox. Oh, you want to be happy? Well, you're not going to be because you want to be. Just be it. Now, I know that sounds so simplistic, but listen, it's the light switch. You want light, switch it on. You don't want light. Don't come to me and say, it's not working. Well, then get an a mechanic and rip the walls out and make it work. But it will work if you do it. So unless you do it, you're not going to have that experience. There is nothing else between you and happiness. How do you become happy? You get rid of yourself, and then you can be happy. You don't live with your mind telling you, oh, this is a problem and that's a problem. You get rid of that. You don't need that telling you anything. You are the boss, not your ego mind, because that's what's in the way.
Yeah, I do agree. I think at times we get in our own way on what we say or what we don't say, how we react to things, or maybe we ignore things. Our subconscious mind runs the day. We don't even see what's going on. We're not present.
Absolutely. I have a happiness decision. It's very short. May I read it?
Oh, please.
Okay. So I wrote this 24 years ago. The happiness decision. And then you state your name, Darrin Tulley. I, Darrin Tulley, do solemnly decide to adopt the happiness decision by being happy now, rather than react to my problems, which is what you just talked about. I will use happiness to respond to them, forsaking all negative thoughts, regardless of circumstances. Oh, thank you. In all ways, I will choose happiness for the rest of my life. There it is. Thank you for putting that up. That's great.
I love the happiness decision, right? It's a declaration of how I want to be.
You know what it is, really? It's a declaration of freedom.
That's beautiful. As we kind of dive into this a little bit with the light, and we have happiness in that light, and our imaginations in there, and having these things does allow us to live freely, to your point. It's a sense of freedom, and how we teach people to kind of keep that straight when the world does what it does around us, like you're saying. And I heard you mention gratitude, and how do we put things in our mind so we could kind of remind ourselves, like, wait a minute, when something happens, let's bring it back, back into what's inside, what really matters.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when we're talking about happiness, we have to qualify it by saying, maybe I should say, we're talking about unconditional happiness. So it's based on, in fact, I would say to you, there's no reason to be happy. Once you have a reason to be happy, you've also created a reason to be unhappy. Because the funny thing about life is, if you get what you want, if you don't get what you want, you say you're unhappy. I have news for you. When you get what you want, you're also unhappy, because if it's really what you wanted, now you're afraid you're going to lose it, and and that makes you unhappy. There's never an end to that. So unconditional happiness means nothing out there makes me happy. Nothing has. And ultimately, what I'm saying is all the happiness is within me, and I don't give my power away. I had the open heart surgery. I didn't give not only did I not give my power away, let me just bring this one up too quickly, because I could talk about this stuff forever. We think of things in life as problems. And yes, we do have things that come up in life every day for all of us. I'm sure you've had a few just today, as we all do. Okay, we call them problems. But problems make us feel like we're dealing with negativity and, oh, what am I going to do? And why does it happen to me? And we get all this, we start cranking up the thought machine. Rather, I've given up looking at things as problems. All right, they come along. I may not know how to deal with them, and we classify it as a problem. But I started looking at things in my life as challenges, and I thought that was a lot of fun. I think you're the kind of guy that loves challenges, frankly, if I know you.
Yes.
Now, that's a much more powerful and empowering way to look at problems. Now, I've gone a step beyond that, which many of you may not think is a good idea, but I'm going to tell you what it is. Everything that happens in my life that we think of as problems, including open heart surgery, is a gift. It's a gift. Matter of fact, that truly was a gift because I wasn't feeling good since April, and they put me on treadmills and tests and everything, and I couldn't find anything. They finally found out there is a problem and probably saved my life. So if somebody's going to save your life, I would consider that a gift. But yet we go into everything with fear. Why do we have fear as human beings? I'll tell you why. Because we want something. If you take away the want and just accept what is and go beyond that. First, it's acceptance. Then what I've done is total surrender. And, many people may say, Lionel, I don't know what you're talking about. Total surrender. Yeah, because life comes at you all the time. It's already happened, and now you got to deal with it. So it doesn't matter how unfair you think it is. You can't change it. It happened already. But when you surrender, depending on your philosophy and your own ideas, you could say you're surrendering to God, to the universe. And surrender doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making the choice to join a bigger team. I got a great team working with me, and I give it all my problems, and it works out great, and I'm free and happy. I'm 78, I'll be 79 this year. I'm going to die at some point. I hate to break the news to you that we all are, but why don't we look at the rest of our life, whatever minutes and years and whatever we have, and be happy? Being happy is the answer. And let me tell you one more secret about being happy. You can only do it now, and you can only keep doing it now. So if you're not doing it right now in this moment, there is no happiness for you. It's now or never. I mean, it really is. What I mean by never is in a year from now, if you decide you're going to be happy in this moment, it'll still be this moment. So you might as well pick this one right here, right now on your show and say, on Darrin's show, I became happy for the rest of my life, no matter what.
Yeah, and it's that decision. And there's a couple words that we've talked about in the past. I think you've written about it. I think it's in your book. It's the two words I am, like saying right now, be present. I am happy.
Yeah.
Instead of the questions that we might be asking, like, am I happy? Am I worthy? Or I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Or like you said, I hope to be happy. And that I am statement, when we start to mention these things in our mind, I think those are the things that helps us be, to your point about being happy or thinking about when life's happening at us. Like, I am this. I'm going to figure out how to deflect that.
Right. I mean, a simple statement when you want to, when you get up or anytime you feel it, just say, I am being happy.
Yep.
And you realize you already are. Once you've made that statement, you are happy. You could step away from it and choose to be unhappy if you'd like to. But, one more thing that I think I should mention, because we're going to say, look, I got problems. What do you mean I could be happy? Well, if you're happy, you could deal with your problems a lot better. Do you really think that when you have a problem, being unhappy, being off balance is going to help you solve your problems? No, it's not. You're in a worse place to deal with your problems. If you're happy, you're calm, you're balanced, you're cool, you're connected. And you realize, I'm going to think about what choices do I have to find a solution or another option. In unhappiness, you're looking at the problem and you're miserable, you have the problem, and you've actually created a second problem with your unhappiness, and now you got two problems. In fact, in that song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, when you're unhappy, he says, you make it double. You make your problems, you double your problems. So why don't you get rid of half your problems and stay happy and just deal with the problem and solve it with happiness? I mean, it's almost like oh, I fell overboard on the Queen Mary. I landed in the water, but I had a life preserver in my hand, but I got rid of it because I figured I didn't need it. Well, you need happiness even when things get difficult. You need happiness even more. And
Yeah.
we don't understand that. We lose our happiness when we need it the most.
Yeah, the happiness is the light in darkness. It gives us that ability to get through things, and it's intentional.
That's the word. That's a good word. Intentional is a powerful word. You've created it, you own it, you empower yourself with it. That's a great word.
It connects back to that point of being authentic, right? If we're being intentionally ourselves,
Yeah.
then it isn't extra work, is it, Lionel? It's who we are.
Yeah.
If we're getting away from what people are telling us to be, we're intentionally being ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's lots of issues in the world, but they're not out there. People don't realize. For
Right.
example, what other people think of us is a big issue for many of us.
Mhm.
I've given that all up. I say, okay, look, you could think whatever you want. As a matter of fact, I love you. I care about you, but I I'm going to say this to everyone listening. I don't care what you're thinking, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. I can't control you or your thinking, nor do I want to.
Right.
I want you to control your thinking. So I love you, I care about you, but I don't care what you think because I can't control that. And it's up to you what you think. You're listening to too many people and you should be listening to yourself. Don't even listen to me. Listen to the words and say, can I use these in my life? And then you're free because you're listening to you. Make it your own. Tell yourself this is me and I'm telling me what to do now. Not because Lionel said it. You may get the look, we're all here to help one another, but ultimately we can only do it for ourselves.
I love how you step into this work to really help us all become a little bit more comfortable with being happy, because I think sometimes we're afraid to be happy, or we're afraid to show we're happy. We're afraid to lose it, like you said, or we're afraid to upset somebody else. Like, I'm happy, you're not happy. That means nobody's going to be happy. Yeah, like when we went to the hospice together, wherever you are, you have this bright yellow smiley face. Wherever you go, you have it on your tie when you're out talking to
Yeah.
folks as a chief happiness officer, when you're out doing all your wonderful presentations and speaking events, your talk shows. I mean, you're everywhere spreading happiness and making it safe for folks to step in. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I would love for all of us, especially on the audience listening, to say, what can I do to help someone smile today? What can I do to make it safer for other folks to actually share their happiness? Because then it'll allow me to share more of my happiness
Yeah.
or your happiness
Yeah.
as you're listening. Lionel, I've also heard some folks say to me, well, I prefer joy versus happiness. So what's your take on the difference between joy and happiness? Is there a difference, or how would you define the difference?
Well, I would start by saying, let's start with contentment. I'm content. And when let's say I'm sitting around waiting for the podcast to begin, and I'm content. Now I see your face, and my contentment goes up a level. It's really the same, but the way I would explain it, because we're using words, is now I'm happy because I could share my contentment with you, and I call that happiness. I think joy. When you ask me about joy, I am now in that state of joy because I feel something going up my spine. Uh, I feel love, deep love, unconditional love, a deep caring for every human being on earth. I may not like what they do, but I love them. And what does that do? It brings me absolute joy. And the joy that I have from not wanting, joy comes from not wanting anything, not being afraid of anything, being fearlessly loving. And you're there. It's unbelievable. And we have that ability. You just gave it to me and I experienced it because you allowed me to. You asked me that question.
I love how that just landed, because I have chills. The connection of that spirituality of joy, I feel it as well. I have this love and respect for you, Lionel. Like, I love the phrase that you will always say. Like, I'm sure when we end today's podcast, you'll say, "Love us."
Yep.
Tell me more about why you say "love us."
Yeah, it came to me years and years ago. I don't know when it was. I've been running the Happiness Club for 24 years. And that started because I was giving talks on happiness at Sacred Heart University. I was giving classes in 1999. The class wanted to keep going. I don't know what year it was. It was a few years after the year 2000 that I said to my happiness club, "I love you," and it felt a little funny to me. I meant it, but it felt funny. Why did it feel funny? I'll tell you why. Because my ego mind was saying to me, Lionel, you're telling these people you love them. Is it because you're trying to get them to love you? So my mind was jumping around with that statement. And then I finally said, no, that's not true. So I finally got rid of that other mind, that ego mind, the monkey mind or the voice in your head mind. And I would say more and more and more, I love you, and I've even had some funny reactions with that. Like I remember once I was in a synagogue giving a service. They asked me to speak in one years ago, and I mentioned to someone I love them, and they said, "How could you love me? You don't even know me." I said, "Well, I don't need to know you. I unconditionally love you." They didn't even understand that. So I knew that that was one in billions that I said I love you to. Finally, all of a sudden, one day I come up with "I love us." And I thought that was perfect. And I'll tell you why "I love us" is important. Yes, Darrin, I love you. But here's the thing. I can't love you unless I love me. So when I say "I love us," I'm including me with you. Then we're a team. I see you. I love thy neighbor as thyself. I love us.
Beautiful. That's powerful to say I love us. It also sounds a little safer. Yeah, I love where it comes from, that I need to be able to enjoy who I am as a person, have compassion for myself, and have love for myself as well. I love us. I love it.
Yeah. Well, unless you love yourself, that's really another ingredient to being happy. If I may, can I share another thing that I think is very important for people?
Please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You and everyone else may think this is going to sound crazy. I'm glad you're sitting down as I say this to you. But Darrin, I'm going to share with you how to be unhappy. You ready for that?
Go for it. I'm always ready for you.
But let me tell you why I'm going to teach you how to be unhappy. Because once you learn this secret, you'll never have to be unhappy in your life ever again, ever. Or you'll know why you're becoming unhappy real quick. Okay, so it's a big one. And if people learn this, they would really be doing themselves a favor. The secret to being unhappy is to be judgmental about something. Judgmental about, if I was judgmental about you, like, boy, I really hope Darrin treats me right. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be very angry. Then I'm already unhappy.
Absolutely.
But if I say, I love Darrin, there's nothing he could do that can make me unhappy because I'm never going to judge him. I love him. Why would I judge him? And this thing with forgiveness, it's a big thing. But here's the deal. I don't need to forgive anyone for anything because I don't take offense about anything anymore. So I don't have to go to spending 20 years being angry and upset and then finally forgiving them so I get myself off the hook. Boom. I don't go there. I don't need to forgive because I love everyone and like I said, I may not like what you do, but if I love you, I don't care what you do. I have no control over it. You ever notice you watch the news, you have no control over what's going on. But here's the deal. You do have complete control over judging someone. Now, I use the word judgmentalness more than judging because I'm not talking about observing and evaluating something. When I observe and evaluate you, that's different than judging you. I don't need to judge any. And here's the thing, as soon as you're judgmental about the way somebody's driving on the highway in front of you, that's how road rage begins because now you're upset and unhappy. But you did it to
Yeah.
yourself by adding that thought and throw one more out. All the years that I've been involved with happiness, a number of people, not you, Darrin, but a number of people have said, I don't like that word happiness. I know you and I love that word.
Love the word. Love
Yeah.
it.
But a lot of people say, I just don't like that word. Okay, fine. Um, and I said, okay, I have another word for happiness, and that's focus. What you focus on expands, and what you focus on is what you will experience. So live your possible is about focusing on things. That's how you found it in the first place. Is you focused on something. You said, wow, look at that. And then you see it all over. That's focus. And we don't realize we focus on the wrong thing. And then we say to ourselves, I don't know why that made me unhappy. Well, if you're watching a horror show on television, you can change the channel.
That's true. I have a lot of reactions here. First of all, that this one-eyed smile, this story in the
Yeah.
backdrop. The funny thing about what you just said about the focus is what you shared with me at the Happiness Club. I think it was I want to say Fairfield. Yeah, what you said to me is, Darren, that one-eyed smile. It's like you had to shut one eye so you could actually focus through the other eye. Do you remember that?
I forgot that. Yeah, you're
So I
right.
haven't forgot that. It's another definition for this one-eyed smile. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It's how do we focusing on the things that really matter, that are uplifting, that are not judgmental, that really put the positivity in our mind. It's not meant to be toxic. It's really meant to set our day up with success. And I'm sure you know the work by Carol Dweck, her book Mindset, and how she talks about judgment is kind of a fixed mindset where we kind of get stuck and we aren't able to grow. We aren't able to kind of move forward. We're kind of digging in. We're self-preserving. We're self-protecting what we think is right versus actually letting go to be
Mhm.
able to kind of let new things come in, differences, new discoveries, more joy. My word of the year is wonder. So I need to wonder with awe to see the beauty to make me, expand my joy, expand my happiness. If I had a fixed mindset and was just judging everything, I don't think I could expand and grow. I need to have that focus on what could be. Wonder is really defined in two ways. It's either you wonder with doubt or skepticism, or you wonder with what's possible, what could be, what's there. How can I connect more joy in the world?
Well, Darrin, you use the word wonder, and I'm going to use the word wonderment and tell
Yeah.
you that you are so right about wonder. And I'm going to use the word wonderment. Wonderment, and I base this on one of the book, the 10 Worlds, a book I've written by a bunch of I've read and interviewed by a bunch of doctors, spiritual book. Yeah, they say wonderment is the highest spiritual level. Wonderment. And what that means is that you are living in the present moment.
Mhm.
Right now, the reason I'm feeling joy is because I'm connected to this moment, connected to you and the universe. And I'm in wonderment. I'm actually looking at you as a child with no preconceptions, just letting it all in, enjoying every moment. I'm not adding anything to it. I'm just a direct experience with you. And when you allow this, when you allow what is the isness of being to happen to you, to experience it, then you do it with wonderment. And wonderment leads to joy, and you live in happiness. And it's not a crazy bubble. It's not like you're not living somewhere else. We have to understand one thing. When you use the word wonder, and I'm using wonderment, we're painting a picture of a reality, a reality, actual reality. And Darrin, I have news for you and for others. You and I are living in a certain reality, while a lot of the world is living in their own reality, a completely different reality. But you can have the being happy reality if you step into it and do it with wonderment. So I love that word. I just cannot tell you how powerful and wonderful this interview is. I mean it. It just brings out the best information for people. This is just unbelievable. I mean that.
Thank you, Lyle. It's beautiful, and the wonder is a level that I think is transcendent. I think it allows us to have a different lens I, it feels to me like this interview, we're slowing down to see what brings us joy. We're pausing and we're reflecting. We're in the present and we're actually wondering what can be, but we're living it right now. And this is beautiful. This
Yeah.
is an example of what happiness is.
Yeah, and I think we're in such a rush world, time that things, we're on a different schedule and everything, but we need to slow down to the speed of life. Speed of life is not 85 miles an hour in a 55-mile zone. That's the highway, but the speed of life is wherever you are to enjoy this moment. You not only are you a part of the moment, spiritually speaking, you are the moment. You are,
Yeah.
and when I say you're the moment and I'm the moment, together we're in this moment. It will never be like this ever again. All the factors that have come to create this moment, it's like an evolutionary, unbelievable point that we've reached, really, because the work on happiness, I mean, it has been evolving more rapidly as time's gone on. But we were talking earlier, 1990, there were hardly any books on happiness. And now your book and millions of others are out there. That was not the case. So there's an evolutionary trend towards happiness. I think evolution, it's a part of your humanity to become happy. I would even say to you that happiness and peace isn't even in your choice. It's in your destiny. It's just gonna be when you're ready to open up to it, then you'll have it. But until you open to it with wonderment, you're not going to experience it because you're going to judge it and your brain will go. Wonderment is also not thinking. That's why wonderment is beautiful.
Yeah. It's an experience. It's truly experiential. When you say destiny too, I've heard you talk about that it's really about the happiness, how it travels, not that it's a destination, just to be clear on the words.
Well,
It's
they say that happiness is the journey. That's an old quote, not the destination. But you remind me of another thing. We're all on a journey together, and I think happiness is certainly the better road to take as a journey. If you're on that road of happiness, the uh, the Buddha said that there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. I had before I ever heard that, I had written, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way, and that's being happy. There is no way to it. It's just being. That's what it is. But the reason I bring this up as far as a path or a way or a destination is that happiness, my name is Lionel. There's Lionel Trains. And if there's a railroad track in front of you and you imagine you're on a railroad track called happiness, then you know you're on track. You just keep going down that track no matter what. But here's something that's going to happen to you. It happens to all of us. You're going to fall off the track. Something will happen. You'll see something. It's like hitting a tree while you're driving, and you'll fall in a ditch. And you say, "Oh," when you wake up or whatever, you say, "Oh, I'm unhappy." Well, now you know what to do. You just get back on the track, and you just stay on track. When you're off track now, right, which we all can be, you could just say to yourself, wait a minute, no big deal. I'm human. I'm allowed to get off track. But now I know where the track is. So staying on track is very important because we don't even know where that track is. It's right in front of us right now, right here. And that's all we need. We don't need anything else.
Yeah, knowing the track is there helps, and being aware when we fall off track. I think that's when I think about the pausing and reflecting to say, hey, wait a minute, like I'm off track. How do I own that? What do I need to do? Because even though so many people tell us that happiness is fleeting and it's temporary, it's not. It's being, which is ever present if we choose to be. And then knowing if we're on track and then in righting the ship or getting it back towards the direction we want to go. Because what happened just happened. Did we learn so we could actually be happy now? Or do we want to just continue to let that spiral?
Yeah.
And I want to give you a quick example. I was driving down Route 8 and there was a lot of construction work going on. They're repaving, fixing all the potholes because it was kind of a mess. And I was driving to work, and I was like frustrated. I'm like, what the heck? I'm gonna be late, rushing to get to work, and all of a sudden it kind of hit me. I fell off track in your example, right? And I'm saying, wait a minute, why am I getting upset with construction workers? There's like four guys off the back of the truck, their legs are dangling, and they're just kind of going 15 miles an hour. I'm going 15 miles an hour. And I'm like, they're trying to make the road safer. Like they're doing amazing work. Who am I to actually complain about them being in my way? I'm actually in their way. So I actually kind of turned bright red and embarrassed. And actually, I went on my way to, I went out of my way to wave and say, "Oh my God, hey guys, thank you, appreciate it." They had no idea what I'm saying, but they got my happy gesture. But guess what happened? They waved back, and they were super excited. I became super excited and happy. I didn't care that I was going 15 miles an hour, right? I was actually appreciating what was in front of me versus actually complaining about what was right in front of me.
Yeah. You know, I would guess, well, you're a happy person and I'm certainly a happy person, but together the energy raises us up. It just, it's like
Yeah.
better air. I don't know what to explain, but when happy people are together, there's something going on. And so
Part.
being happy is a wonderful thing for us as individuals. But when we are happy and we encounter another human being, actually, there's something happening that's probably beyond anything I could describe that is good for the world because you become good for the world when you're happy.
Mm.
And you certainly are much better off for yourself. So happiness is a win-win in every respect. There is no, I don't care what anyone thinks about it or says about it. They don't know about it if they're,
Yeah.
there even have been books written on why happiness, is not good, or they'll say pursuing happiness, which I can actually agree with because you could pursue it as far as you want, but unless you're being it, pursuing it is just making you run all over the place.
Now, how does happiness fit in the workplace?
I had written an article about that years ago. Basically, it helps in every single respect. In every single respect, happiness. Here's the deal. To answer that question, management has to understand the value of happiness. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. So as soon as management understands that they're better off and they know you'd be better off if they created more happiness for you. They know that, but they don't know that they would be better off, get more value. The customers would have a better relationship. They would make more money. People would practically want to stay and not go home on time because they're enjoying themselves so much there, and they would add even more value to the business. It's value added, but and this doesn't go for business and management, but it goes for all of us. We don't value happiness. We don't understand the value of happiness. I mean, let me just give you an example. Everybody knows let's see, here we go. Okay, everybody knows what that is, right?
Yes.
I don't want it. Would you like it, Darrin?
Yeah.
Would you like that? Would you like?
Sure. Or
Okay.
give it to the next
So
person you
let me ask
see.
you a question. Why did you take that $100? Why? What on earth possessed you to take that?
Because $100 is fun to have, and you were going to give it to me, so I said, "Sure, I'm going to make you feel good by taking the money from you."
Well, so you took it because you saw the value of, the
Yeah,
value of it, right?
sure.
You could buy a lot of gum with it. You could do things with it. So if you pass, a quarter on the street, you may pick that up. I would pick it up if it's,
Sure.
if it's there. But do we really see the value? Do we stop and pick it up when it's happiness? That's the question.
Great,
Do
great
we
thought.
see the value? Do we recognize, wait a minute, this is exceptional,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It is valuable, and I'd love to if you have that article link, I'd love to post that. And I think you were writing these articles at the beginning of the journey around positive psychology and the beginning of the research. So I believe you were ahead of the time, which I've been so impressed with, and all the different approaches you've gone at with bringing more joy and happiness to the world. And I got to say, there's a lot of research supporting the numbers and the value that you're talking about now. Just for one, I've seen many articles that supports folks are more productive by like 20%. On average is what people are saying. That it impacts people's willingness to participate, be more open. There's more empathy and trust. At the end of the day, the customers are happier. Guess what? You got happier people. You got customers that are happier. You're definitely making more money. You're able to invest back into
Yeah.
the longevity of the business. And as leaders, I think they're happier too. And I would challenge folks, are they happy for the right reasons? Are they happy because the outcomes are better? Or are they happier because you know what, their people are happier? Because if we're happier
Yeah.
because our people are happier and they're going homes, I'm sorry, the people are going home and actually creating a happier family, a happier community. As a leader, I'd be thrilled. I'd be ecstatic.
Well, you're right. And we have to approach these things. For example, I'm happy and I love sharing these things with you and your group. And I already know, because it's true for me now, that I'm even happier, if that's possible, after this interview with you. But I already knew that was going to happen. So, but here's the thing. I didn't come here to get happier. I came here to share my happiness, to really, because I love you and I love the people listening. I would like them to have the best life possible, just like you do. So that's the reason I come. But I do go away. In other words, this is the most selfish thing I could ever do in life, is to help you be happy, help others be happy. It just elevates me and it makes me feel I don't need it. You have to understand. It just isn't, it's like it's the opposite of money. The more you give money away, the less you have, but you have to have it to give it. So
Right.
with happiness, the more you give it away, the more I end up with. And that keeps me busy.
Hey, last question for you, Lionel. You're the founder of the Happiness Club, and there's thousands around the world. What I would love for you to do is talk about what it is, and really to invite people to go attend to one of these happiness clubs in their area. And I'm going to put a link to the Happiness Club so folks can go find where they are. I'd love for you to make a quick pitch because the reality is there's a lot of happiness being shared there, and it's infectious, it's contagious. It could really change our communities like it's already doing. But I'd love to have more of our audience attending these events.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you're right. And it's very simple. The easiest way is happinessclub.com. That's the website, happinessclub.com. And when you're on the website, you could feel free to subscribe to the happiness newsletter that's out once a month. But it's got a lot of information on it. I won't tell you about all the meetings. We even meet in person. We have lunches once a month for years. And the other great thing, we have Zoom meetings, we have regular meetings, and then Mondays we have something called Happy You. It's on every Monday for 2 hours. It's a teleconference. They're all recorded on the first page of the website. And Darrin, you've been on that. That's an excellent way to learn more about happiness, to pick up the little tools and ideas that are going to keep you on that track. And it's really about learning how to make the best choices for yourself. Again, if you're not aware of the choices, you can't make them. So it's up to you to use what you want, but unless you find them and learn them and say, I want to use that. Wow, it's like finding money. You get excited when you find, something, it's like a gift. Well, just because something is free and everything we do is all free doesn't mean it doesn't have value. So don't confuse the two things. So thank you, Darrin, for what you're doing, because, you know, uh, that's the other thing. If you want a business take on what we're talking about here, is the old idea of competition is one way of looking at life, but the greatest idea is cooperation. And that's what you and I are doing. There is no competition. We're in this together.
Yeah, there's abundance of possibilities and abundance of happiness that's around for everybody. There's enough for everybody to have and more. And
Yeah.
it's a gift, like you said. Your gift, happiness is a gift that keeps on giving it all the time. And I got to say, last year, my purpose for last year was love, Lionel. and I felt a little squishy with it. Still practicing it out, but I appreciate how you make it safe. So I just want to say I love you and I love us, and I'm honored to be your friend. I'm honored to be a partner in this happiness business and helping people light up. And I'm glad you're healthy and you're doing well. And thank you for joining the show. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Darren. And not only do I love you, but in your case, I also love what you do, and that you give to others. You know, that you share this knowledge with others. I think that's one of the most important things anyone can do. So thank you from my heart to the work you're doing. It's very valuable. And if enough people don't tell you that, it doesn't matter. It's still the most valuable thing anybody could be doing in this world. You're doing it, and I congratulate you and thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for your mentorship and support and all the love. So we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Happiness is contagious, just like Lionel. When he speaks, I just want to hear another story and learn more ideas from him to remove the barriers that get in the way from any of us being happy. My favorite part of the show today was him lighting up with wonder and sharing his reason for signing off on any text, email, or conversation with the phrase, "Love us." Share more love today and just be happy is what Lionel expresses to us as his way of being. Look for the signs and words that prevent us from living this way and take the steps to intentionally put us on the path to be our happy, authentic self and live your possible. In the spirit of Lionel Ketchian, I love us, so make it a great day.
That's all for today's episode. If you liked the show, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Live Your Possible dares to unlock your fullest potential and become an avenue for others to do the same. Join the community by visiting ignitehappy.com. It's time to discover endless possibilities with equal opportunity for all. See you again next week for more insights on how you can live your possible.